Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ryan the Lion from Magic 95.9. You can hang out with me weekdays inside the Lion's Den, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Of course, a lot of fun, all kind of great music and good times. So speaking of good times, we're here tonight to have a good time and get some great information. Welcome to our virtual town hall event tonight, all about There Goes My Hero, nonprofit organization spreading the word about African American donorship. Right, that's what we're here tonight to talk about. And our guest tonight, our esteemed guest, I should say, their board president for There Goes My Hero and chairwoman. Make sure I get that right. Geneau Thames, as well as board member Garland Scott. Thank you for joining us this evening. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us, Ryan.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, you guys are very close to this initiative. You've both been very touched with, we say, the process of blood cancer and that dealing with all of that. So tonight, thank you so much for sharing your story and spreading the word. Geneau, let's start with you. I know we got a little video about your story, and I would love for everybody to see it. It's so powerful.
Great. Thank you.
B, can we get to that video? Yeah, I was always going to get to it. Let's get to that video.
Hi, my name is Geneau Thames, and I'm a leukemia survivor. I needed a bone marrow transplant to be cured, and really to live. Due to my ethnicity, Caribbean American, African American, there weren't a lot of options available for me on the registry. That was a scary time for me, my mom, my kids who were 8, 11, and 17 at the time, my husband, and my friends. I promised myself that if given the opportunity to get better, I would pay it forward. And Color the Registry was born. Individuals of color, we take care of our own. We are founded on the it takes a village mentality. Well, here we are with an opportunity to help each other in a way that no one else can, to help our own. In 2016, it was me, but it can be anyone. Your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, a friend of yours, someone you grew up with in church. Cancer strikes whenever and whomever. If given the chance to save a life in a way that simply takes your time, a little of your energy, is mostly pain-free, and can make you a hero in every sense of the word, I think most people would want to get registered to save a life. Getting registered on the registry is the first step to do so. For more information about Color the Registry, visit theregoesmyhero.org/colortheregistry.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that story, Geneau. That was absolutely powerful, very, very inspiring. Garland, you have been personally touched by this as well. Let's hear a little bit about your story.
So, unlike Geneau, who experienced this firsthand, where it's threatening her life directly, for me it hit me two ways. It hit me as a child. I lost a cousin, and when you're a little kid, you don't really understand the magnitude of all of this stuff. You just know that you had a cousin, that person's no longer there, and then your parents are telling you that person's in a better place. That's kind of the way that works, right? We're sheltered as children, and so I didn't learn until later on that she had leukemia. But I did realize and recognize, even at 5 years old, 6 years old, how it affected my aunt, her mother, and then obviously my father. And that stayed with me for a very long time. And really in 2006, the person who founded There Goes My Hero, Eric Sauer, and I have to give him big shouts because we wouldn't be here without this gentleman. Good friend of mine, and we worked in the same industry, doing the same thing for two different companies. He came and sat on my stoop one day and he said, "Garland, I got a problem. I have a 3-year-old and a 3-week-old, and I just been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I don't know what to do. Do I get to know these boys better, or do I just let this disease absorb me? And of course, we had a long crying conversation over a couple of cocktails. And I told him, I said, every day is a diary now. You never know what's going to happen. And for him, he's lucky enough to be, German descent. His bone marrow match came 6 months later from a 19-year-old German lady. And she saved his life. And because of that, his pay forward was to start this organization. And 60 plus lives later, here we are. We've been able to save through our efforts. All these years later, I think we're at 62 or 63 lives because of them. So the Color the Registry effort it's not a spinoff, but it's an initiation and a realization, I should say, of this great gap we have between European descended people like Eric, and then Caribbean, African American, multi-raced folks, Asian Americans. It's just such a wide gap between the ability to find donor matches for them and for us. So that's why Geneau and I are here.
And we absolutely thank you so much, because the key thing both of you are saying is saving lives, right? And that's what this initiative is all about. When it comes to our community, it's so important that we get information out, and this is absolutely imperative information. It's affecting so many of us, just like you're saying. People are just popping up, finding out that they have it, and then as far as treatment and options, just finding out more about blood cancer. With this event coming up, the numbers are extremely far apart when it comes to African Americans and any other people of descent. So, I mean, it's absolutely imperative that we get this info out and get folks more involved. So thank you so much for sharing. Now, let's talk about There Goes My Hero, because it seems like it's a great organization that's doing some amazing things. How long have you guys been a part of it?
So There Goes My Hero has been around for a little over, I believe, 10, 12 years now. I have been a part of There Goes My Hero since I went into remission. So I became a board member shortly after, and you've heard my story, shortly after I was diagnosed and then went into remission. I was able to find a donor, but my donor story is a little different than Eric's. To provide more clarity on that right there, when I was diagnosed, I was told, you're going to need a transplant to survive. And the numbers really are quite, if you get a transplant, you can live a lot longer. If you don't, the numbers are shocking. It's about an 18% survival rate. So the need for a transplant is necessary. Eric was able to find, roughly 75 matches on the bone marrow registry. I was able to, fortunately for me, I was able to find 21 matches, but each one of those were disqualified until I was ultimately not able to find a match on the registry.
Wow.
So because of that, I mean, even my own child became disqualified. Like, he was able to donate, but then he was later disqualified for medical reasons. So that's why Color the Registry was really born, because the numbers, there's no reason why we can't have more individuals saved through this effort. It's just we need more numbers on the bone marrow registry. We need more numbers of people of color on the registry. And why do you need people of color? Well, you need people of color because ethnicity is the one thing that matters when it comes to getting a bone marrow transplant. Bone marrow has to do with ethnicity and DNA and tissue. And so obviously my tissue and your tissue, we're similar because we come from similar backgrounds, either African American or, some type of either African or Caribbean or something. But ultimately, we all come from the same place, right? Which we ultimately we all come from the same place. So because of that, despite the fact that you might be either from, let's say, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Right, anywhere else, right?
African American at some point, and so we all go back to Africa. Because of that, there's just a stark disparity in the numbers, as you mentioned. And so, unlike Eric, we needed to be able to highlight this issue, that it's not a matter of any kind of special medical treatment. It's not a matter of it's a number issue. If we can get more individuals educated on the need for people to be registered on the bone marrow registry, then the next time, because the numbers say 1 in 20 people are going to be diagnosed. So the next time someone is diagnosed, they will have more candidates available to them. And then the likelihood of them being cured from this disease is greater. That's why we're bringing color to this issue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important, very important. And, you're talking about, again, saving lives and, these disparities. And even you said, people, even you had 21, but then the disqualifications. So the importance of having those numbers, again, is absolutely imperative. And tonight, if you're just joining us, welcome to our town hall event. There Goes My Hero. We are talking about blood cancer, African-American donorship, and getting that higher. We need better numbers. We need more people to come out in the community and be a part of this initiative and be a part of saving more lives in our community. And, that's what's up. So the color of the registry, who started that? And, tell us a little bit more about that, because that's how we can get these folks involved.
I don't know who started it. I joined the board last year, and this was the reason why. I think I was brought on to bring not only my perspective from a black man's perspective, but also to diversify our board a little bit as well. So once we sort of begin to understand what these numbers mean, 25% chance of finding a match versus a 75% chance of finding a match if you are Caucasian or European descent. Those numbers are glaringly obvious to us. The other part that we also have to understand as African-American citizens is that bone marrow also helps with sickle cell anemia. And that is something that we're learning more and more about that, but these two things are in tandem. So not only does the participation of Black people on this registry matter for blood cancers, it also matters for that disease that's really just relegated to us. That's an enormous stance. A lot of people don't know about that. I was actually at the Baltimore Health Expo last weekend, and ironically, we were like right next door to the folks that are promoting bone marrow through sickle cell, and I was like, well, we got to get together, because clearly these two things are intended to be matched, and it's amazing what could happen, what we can do with just that disease alone, on top of what we're trying to do, which is to solve the blood cancer issue.
Yeah, Garland brings up a great point. So Color the Registry really came just from our board as a group initiative. It came after, once I joined the board, just because my thought was, let's pay it forward. But once I shared my story, like, Eric, my story wasn't the same as yours, let me see. Then the board became, just very much behind. They decided, let's back this effort. Let's try to, it's not really a spinoff, but let's bring more awareness to the fact that we need not just bone marrow registrants, but we need people of color on the bone marrow registry. And the numbers, once they became very clear, it was pretty easy to just go ahead and back this initiative and go from there. And again, to Garland's point on the sickle cell anemia, that's the latest research. Well, sickle cell is a trait that is only amongst African Americans. And the latest research shows that as they continue to try to fight sickle cell anemia, one of the ways you could do that is through a bone marrow transplant, because it pretty much just rids the body of the old immune system, gives you a new immune system, and then allows you to grow healthy cells, and almost can eliminate the sickle cell, even though you have the trait, can eliminate the sickness involved with it.
Body is so powerful. The human body is absolutely amazing. Yeah. So if someone wants to help out and join the registry, how do they go about doing that?
They could certainly reach out to There Goes My Hero. I think our information is on the bottom of the screen, www.theregoesmyhero.org. We can mail you a kit if you want to, number one, just register yourself if you meet the qualifications. The other thing you could do is, if you belong to a church or any kind of community organization, if you own a business, you can host a drive. We could really use individuals who could host drives and bring awareness to this issue. What the other thing you could do is we volunteer and help patients who are going through bone marrow and blood cancer treatment. That is essentially important. That's another part of our initiatives. So there are a number of ways you can get involved, or you can donate, as always, donate money to help us continue to build awareness on this issue as well. So a number of ways, but the first way is to, I think our information is down the screen. Go to www.theregoesmyhero.org.
So another way you can do it too, Ryan, is our calendar on our website. It's always full. We have drives every week. We have events certainly every weekend. I know a big push for us is trying to find more involvement in our HBCUs because that young Marrow is really valuable. I mean, the age range is 18 to 55. You can't age out. But there are a number of qualifiers with health that will eliminate you. And generally speaking, that 18 to 25 year range is essential. So it's a really big push for us this year and the following years to be more involved in the HBCUs. There are plenty of them in the Maryland and DC and Virginia area for sure. Anyone that is attached to those organizations, please reach out to us. We'd love to find a better way to communicate with the colleges and be more involved at a much larger capacity. Because imagine having, 10 to 20,000 students avail themselves to participate with this.
And speaking about that availability, I mean, we have a large community everywhere, right? But in our community, we also have a lot of things that hold us back as far as joining any kind of initiative, being a part of something, even if it's positive. But why do you think some folks in our community are just not willing to be a part of something like this? So what are some of the myths about, especially when it comes to bone marrow? Black folks hear that, they're like, no, you don't.
So I'm smirking, not because of I don't understand the gravity of what you're talking about, Ryan, but it's funny. My grandmother is in her 90s, and this woman was born, in the 20s, and and she's from Southern Virginia, and how grandma passes things down to mama, and mama passes down to us, and that's how things work. And unfortunately, there's a lot of validity to some of these stories, right? We all know about the Tuskegee experiments, and there are many lesser known experiments that are out there where Black bodies were used for whatever, like we were animals, like we were lab rats. And to unwind and unpackage some of that real truth, which is attached to a lot of folklore, is very difficult. It took a long time to get to where we are now, and it's going to take even longer to dispel some of those myths. So that's a lot of what we do, is the education part, just letting people know, listen, we're not going to use your DNA in any negative capacity. There are a lot of rules and regulations around what we have to do with that. But that's a big part of it from a cultural standpoint. We've been, as a society, as a people, kind of picked on and abused. And now we're a bit shy. Look, when I was a kid, I was told a hospital is where you go to die. So no one wanted to go to the hospital ever. So we deal with things like that. And unfortunately, even in 2023, those things are still here.
Yeah, I mean, medical homicide in our history is real. We can't take away from that. We can't go away from that. But I would say that I think we've come a long way with our laws and with our regulations to protect us. There's still going to be distrust. That's without a doubt. And I don't ever want to. I'm very sensitive to the fact that, especially when I was asking for folks to come out and, donate, I'm very sensitive to the fact that we're asking individuals to make a sacrifice. But we sacrifice for our community. That's what we do as a community. So while it can be difficult to overcome, we're just looking for individuals to look past that. A couple of a couple of ways to really dispel some of those myths. To get registered, it's a simple cheek swab. They do, obviously, your cheek has your DNA, right? It has your saliva. They use that to type you, and after that, it's discarded. Your information is not kept. Your only thing that's kept is obviously the type of DNA you have, in order to see that if you're a potential match for an individual, and then obviously your credentials and your information so that they can find you if they need to on the registry. But other than that, that information is protected. If you were to be called to say, hey, you're a match for someone, and you decided, yes, I want to go and proceed further, you would go to a hospital with a doctor. You would not meet the person that you were going to be meeting to potentially match. Those two relationships stay completely separate. So then they would just go ahead and test you like you would with a normal doctor. All of your information, all of your testing and everything would be paid for by the registry, and various organizations who support, getting us towards treatment. So that's the other big thing. Everything is completely covered. You're not paying for that. And then, so when it comes to, let's say you go through the testing, you're now qualified, you decide you're going to participate and you're going to give this wonderful sacrifice. Then the next thing that you would do is there's two ways you can donate bone marrow. 80% of the people who donate bone marrow do so through a process that's similar to dialysis. So where you're hooked up to a machine, they literally give you an IV. You sit there, you watch a movie or something, and they spin out the stem cells needed to do the match. So you're awake the whole time. You have an IV. You get to go home same day, and you're done. 20% of the individuals need what I think most folks are used to, which is that traditional surgery. It's the surgery that's done on the back in order to get the bone marrow, the stem cells directly from the pelvis area. Does that surgery hurt? I don't know. I haven't had it, but I understand it can be uncomfortable. One of the members of our board actually engaged in that type of treatment, and he was back home same day and back to work within 3 days. So even that particular procedure was done with relative discomfort. I think the price you get in between that, as much as folks are like, yeah, you're right, I'm not doing that. It's funny because, I'm asking cousins and everybody like, come out. And they're like, is it going to hurt? And I'm like, I don't know. And all right, we'll do it for you. Cause I'm like, thank you. I mean, thank you, since we know it's you. But I would say that it's the ultimate gift, right? The ultimate gift. If you could save someone else's life, there's just, what else can you do? What else can you do?
It's absolutely a small price to pay.
Right.
And I believe with, like you guys say, this day and age with technology, even getting the bone marrow, even that 20% way, just learning from some other things that it's really not as crazy as people think it is anymore. They're doing it in and out, same day. So again, just another reason that, people, yeah, you can do this. You can absolutely do this. And this small gift can save tons of lives, tons of lives. Again, tonight, thank you for joining us. If you are watching, you have any questions, please hit the chat, type it in, and we'll definitely get to it. Our virtual town hall tonight, we are talking about There Goes My Hero, blood cancers, African-American donorship, and we're just trying to get the word out, get folks educated, spread the word, save some lives. Tonight, you guys absolutely inspired me so much. I know that after we're done tonight, I'm definitely going to talk to some folks, see if we can volunteer, set up some things so that we can continue to get the word out. Because I think just one of these things that affect our community that we can do something about. We got to be able to help ourselves, and this is one great way that we can do that and save tons of lives. So when you guys are out in the community and doing these things, what are some of the things you hear people say that they're like, oh, we don't want to do it? What are some of those myths? I mean, we know about the needle and the pain and stuff, but what are some folks really saying to you guys?
I heard a lot last weekend.
Yeah.
I hear everything from, do I need to donate my body after I die, to science? Is that what you guys are all about? I've heard that one. I've heard, hey, are you guys a part of cryogenics? Are you be freezing me?
Wow.
You just don't know. Bone marrow is one of those things where when you say it and you don't really know what it is, I think we all understand kind of what blood does and what blood is. And certainly the blood drives have been around a lot longer with a lot more prominence. Bone marrow, though, is one of those sort of medical things. You're like, what exactly does that do? So there's a lot of that's out there. And then there's a lot of, is it like organ donation where I have to move up the list, and I've heard some fraud going on there with organs, and I'm not the right ethnicity to be at the top of that list? I hear everything. So again, we have to educate, because what happens is that the rumor mill starts, it permeates, and then you get these things, you get these real live questions that are like that. And I think when people hear, at least initially, hey, it's just a cheek swab. And oh, by the way, look, if you register and you decide not to do it, it's okay. It really is okay. I mean, I know there's someone on the other end that needs it, but it's a really big decision. And we understand completely that, that some folks are just going to be a little bit nervous about that and may not want to do it, but at least avail yourself on the registry, because in 3, 4, 5 years, maybe your attitude does change. Maybe someone that family member, a friend, goes through it and you couldn't help them, but then someone else who's a stranger shows up and you have the ability to help those folks out. So register, help us broaden this whole thing out. And because you just never know where in life you're going to be. You never know how God's going to bless you. You never know what your mindset's going to be. So register.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's a good point. And one myth we can dispel is that bone marrow, unlike organs, regenerates. So
that's right.
Bone marrow will completely regenerate within 90 days. You will have all your bone marrow back. You don't have to go anywhere to go get it. Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, you're not missing a part of you when
not
you
gonna
leave.
fall apart, right?
Not going to fall apart. It'll be there for you when you come back, and maybe you could give it to someone. You can give it more. Who knows? But
that's exactly right.
Right.
Ryan, let me also mention this as well, because we talk about us as African Americans. That's who we're representing tonight. But let us not also forget about our Latino friends and our Asian friends. Their numbers are just as bad as far as the ability to find matches. Their numbers are very low in the registry as well. We need more people representing those cultures on our board, frankly, and many of the other boards that are out there. We also need those cultures as volunteers. They are a big part of our communities as well, not just in Baltimore, but abroad. And we encourage anyone that's listening that's maybe not African American, but is Asian American or Latino American, please call us, call these numbers, volunteer, participate, and again, join the registry.
Absolutely. And one of those things, cancer is something in our community we absolutely know about. But we know about all the cancers. We don't really hear much about the blood cancer. It's not something that is talked about prevalent. So yeah, we got to get the word out. It's something that definitely affects us. And again, we have the opportunity and the chance to do something about it and make a difference. I want to say thank you guys so much for coming tonight and spreading the word. Absolutely amazing. I know we made a difference tonight, and moving forward, I hope this just continues to grow and our numbers continue to get stronger. I appreciate you so much, Geneau, Garland. Thank you so much. Big shout out to There Goes My Hero and everyone involved. And I think, Geneau, your story was absolutely touching. That video was very, very inspiring. And tonight, I would love to be able to close out the show with that video, if you don't mind.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch, man. We're definitely going to talk some more because I'm going to need your help. All right.
Hi, my name is Geneau Thames, and I'm a leukemia survivor. I needed a bone marrow transplant to be cured, and really to live. Due to my ethnicity, Caribbean American, African American, there weren't a lot of options available for me on the registry. That was a scary time for me, my mom, my kids who were 8, 11, and 17 at the time, my husband, and my friends. I promised myself that if given the opportunity to get better, I would pay it forward. And Color the Registry was born. Individuals of color, we take care of our own. We are founded on the "it takes a village" mentality. Well, here we are with an opportunity to help each other in a way that no one else can, to help our own. In 2016, it was me, but it can be anyone. your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, a friend of yours, someone you grew up with in church. Cancer strikes whenever and whomever. If given the chance to save a life in a way that simply takes your time, a little of your energy, is mostly pain-free, and can make you a hero in every sense of the word, I think most people would want to get registered to save a life. Getting registered on the registry is the first step to do so. For more information about Color the Registry, visit theregoesmyhero.org/colortheregistry.